So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Rob Scott, Region 5 Director for the U.S. Small Business Association. Administration.
No problem. Well, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, I had some technical difficulties, so I'm on my iPad, so I don't know what's going on on my end, but thank you so much for having me. This is a great group of folks. I always love talking to chamber heads, and then also folks that are involved in the chamber. You're kind of like the boots on the ground when it comes to small business. But as Elena said, I am the Great Lakes Regional Administrator, which covers Michigan, also Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and the great state of Ohio with the greatest college football team in the universe, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sorry, we win, you know. It's not my fault you guys can't play football in Michigan. I just had to get that jab in since I'm talking to folks in Michigan, but I do love spending time up there. I've actually been spending a lot of time in Michigan lately. And it's a great state. It's a beautiful state. I do enjoy visiting. So, but to kind of talk about, you know, basically what we've been going through in 2020, you know, it's kind of a blur, and I think it's a blur for all of you. And the year cannot end fast enough. But I think dealing with it economically, it's going to be around for a while. So to talk about what the U.S. Small Business Administration is doing and is going to do, obviously we were this little tiny agency of about 4,000 employees across the country, the smallest cabinet level agency in the federal government. Now everyone knows us for good or for bad. And so that is quite the adjustment, but we're known for the PPP program now, the Paycheck Protection Program, where nationally we did 5.2 million total PPP loans, $525 billion across the country. We did that in a little over 4 months, and we wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for our great lending community across the country that stepped up. We started with 1,800 lenders, active SBA lenders. We now have 5,500 active SBA lenders thanks to the PPP program. In Michigan, we did about 110,000 PPP loans for $16.5 billion in PPP loans. Now, I know you guys heard about our other products, and yesterday, this is late breaking news I'm providing you folks on this call in Michigan. For total loans between PPP, the economic injury disaster loans as of right now, and our traditional loans in the state of Michigan, we did 343,000 loans for FY20 for a total of almost $22 billion in the state of Michigan. Again, third in my region. I oversee 6 states. Number 1 was Illinois. Obviously, it's a big state, Chicago. Second would be my state, Ohio, and then third, Michigan. But again, if you track this as a percentage over the 50 states, Michigan was in the top 10, which is a big deal. This entire region, the Great Lakes region, did extremely well. We were number 1 in the country. And what I put that in is a testament to our lending community. We have a very, very, very strong lending community in the Great Lakes region. Obviously, since we're very, you know, the Great Lakes region is very about small business and manufacturing, and we do have a good rural farming community in our region as well, which makes up a lot of these loans too. For the first time in the SBA's history, we did a lot of rural loans as well for folks in rural America. And I can break this out in our traditional programming. This is minus PPP, minus the economic injury disaster loan through our disasters assistance program. Michigan did a little over 2,000 loans for about $728 million. So our traditional products like the 504 program and the 7A, and if I'm talking Greek to you, I'll go into detail about that. But you guys were actually third again in the region, by just a little bit. You came very close to surpassing. You were very on the heels of Ohio. So, but you did very well in our traditional programs. And no, for those like 4 or 5 months that we were doing PPP, that's all we were doing. We were not doing our traditional products. We kind of put that on hold because we couldn't handle anything else other than PPP. So just to put that into perspective. But the PPP program, it's still alive and kicking. We're not taking applications for it, but we are in the forgiveness period. And I'm sure I'm going to get 1,000 questions on that. And just to kind of recap on the forgiveness portion, you kind of have 3 different sets of documents. And again, what I would tell your members is work with your lender. Your lender is the one that is going to be submitting that forgiveness application to us. We did create, literally about 3 weeks ago, released a 50K and below forgiveness application. It's a 1-pager. And it's very simple. You just certify, hey, I use the funds on a 60-40 split, 60% for salaries for the employees, 40% for qualified business expenses, that you didn't do anything nefarious with the funds, and submit that to your lender, and then they submit that to us. That covers 67% of under 50K of all the PPP loans in the country. There's talk right now in Congress of doing something for 150K and below on the PPP, to have either a 1-page form similar to what we did for the 50K and below, or, which a lot of lenders want this, and again, the jury's still out on whether Congress will do this or the president will act, 150K below, giving blanket forgiveness, saying if your loan is below 150K, it's forgiven, goodbye. Don't talk to us again. And that's 85% of all the PPP loans. The vast majority of our community banks, our credit unions, they're well below that 150K threshold. Like literally, I met with a bank in Grand Rapids, it was Choice, and they were saying, yeah, we only have 2 loans over 150K. So if you guys did that, that would be amazing. Like it would save so much compliance burden off the lender, and then they could move on and do what they do, which is service their customers and not have to bang on their customers, say, hey, I need these tax forms, I need these payroll records, whatever it may be. So we are looking at that. That takes an act of Congress, which right now, as you all know, is almost like a divine intervention for that to happen at this point. But I think after the election, that's seriously on the table. I bring up Senator Marco Rubio just for this point. He is chair of the Senate Small Business Committee. That's where the PPP program kind of originated, and then it went over to the House side, and then it got voted in, and then the president signed it into law. Senator Rubio introduced a bill for the 150K and below forgiveness, and additionally introduced a bill that would create a second round of the PPP program, or what I call PPP the sequel. And what he's wanting to do is we did not expend all of our PPP funds at the SBA. We have $138 billion left. And he wants to create a PPP program, the second, geared toward industry-specific PPP programs. So to give you an example, what he listed in the proposed bill was restaurants, the restaurant industry, obviously highly affected. They kind of limped along through the spring and the summer. They had outdoor dining, all those things. Well, we know in the Midwest, that's not an option now. It's pretty hard to eat your meal at dinner time when it's 25 degrees outside. It's just not going to happen. So looking at a program just geared for the restaurant industry, hospitality industry, hotels, whatever, they've been highly affected because our travel's been cut back so much. Independent entertainment venues, which they haven't even really been able to open. Event spaces. I know when I was with the Rochester Regional Chamber, there was a gentleman who I actually stayed in this hotel when I was there. And Helena's shaking her head. He owns this is really cool hotel. It's a beautiful hotel I stayed in. Yeah. And he was saying how just the governor's orders has just decimated his event planning, which kind of was like the anchor to get people into the hotel with weddings and all the things that he did. So it would be geared towards, operations like that as well, along with a host of things. I mean, the sky's the end. And then also a product where if a business can show if they're 25 or 50% down below revenue from the prior year, that they would be eligible for a second round of PPP. So again, what I'm saying here is if you got a PPP prior and you're either in this industry or still being affected, you could apply for a second one that would be ultimately, if you comply with the terms of it, it would be forgiven. Additionally, opening up for somebody who never got a PPP to actually apply for a PPP, their first PPP. So that's a bill that's working its way through the Senate. They were supposed to vote on it 2 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago. Obviously, Justice Ginsburg died, and everything went out the window at that point. So everyone's playing politics. Regardless, I think after the election, it's going to be something seriously on the table. So kind of keep an eye out on the news. Regardless of the election outcome, it's likely going to come law at some point, and hopefully before the end of the year, so that the SBA can implement it and offer that certainly to the small business owners that are out there. The other program I'd like to briefly touch on is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And this is still available, okay, for folks affected by the pandemic. And it's available until the end of this year. So there is a time where we're going to cut it off and say, hey, you can't apply for it anymore, but it's open until December 31st of 2020. So the Economic Injury Disaster, and that's the one time that is a direct lend from us, the SBA, i.e. the federal government. So you're not going to go to a lender to apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. You will come to us, apply for it online at sba.gov. And we have a rapid application that was developed by a company that all of you on this call probably have heard about, named Rocket Mortgage. It's one of their sub companies that actually developed this for us for the pandemic. But it's a rapid application, takes like 5 minutes. It's very quick, and you will get a decision within a few days. The terms of the loan are this: you can get a loan of up to $150K for typically up to 30 years amortized. If you're a for-profit business, 3.75% interest. Nonprofits can also apply for this at a 2.75% interest rate over 30 years. Here's the even better part of this: you don't need to begin paying on it, and interest doesn't accrue or anything for up to 1 year. Okay, so if you're a business sitting on this call thinking, we may have a bad winter, or things are going to look bleak in a couple months maybe, or I don't know what the economy is going to do, or if Joe Biden gets elected, who knows, or if Trump gets reelected, who knows. I would look at this as a way of almost like a credit line. You apply for it, park the money in a bank account, sit on it. If you need it, tap it, and then, after a year, begin paying on what you tapped, give back what you didn't use or may not use, or you may not even need it. Give it back at the end of the term before the 1 year starts, and it's no fuss, no muss, but you had that emergency lifeline for your business. Now, I know for some folks on the call, 150K, it's like, yawn, that's not going to really help me. But I would say the vast majority of the businesses on this call, that's a big deal. 150K, that can bridge you for a few months. So I highly recommend apply for this. And again, there is a time limit of December 31st, 2020. Don't wait. I would look at doing it now. Just to give you all a heads up, it's amazing how, and I'm a kind of responsible for this too, how illiterate we are when it comes to finances. So there is a question on there, just to flag this, of cost of goods. So if you get confused on it, we've had accountants screw it up when they're filling it out for their businesses. So again, just be careful when you're filling out the application. If you have issues filling it out, obviously you can probably reach out to your chamber, and they probably could assist you, and CLN is smiling. But certainly you can call us at our disaster assistance line, and we can help you walk through that application. But again, it's a very easy application. If you mess up or you're denied, there are reconsiderations. So you can actually apply to say, hey, I would like you guys to look at this again, and here's why. Maybe your credit is shot because the last 6 months, let's face it, have not been stellar in this country, and you may have been affected personally on your personal credit. we take that into account in underwriting. Okay, so just provide a narrative, submit it to us. You'll work with a loan officer, whether you're denied or approved, and that way we can help push it through. If you get denied a second time, and I'm going to blow your mind, you can actually ask for it to be reconsidered a third time, and we will look at it again. After that, unfortunately, after the third time, if you're denied, it's the end of the road there. But what I will tell you is that anytime anyone's been denied and really sat down and said, okay, here's the narrative, here's my issues, more likely than not, I've heard stories of people getting approved. And if you do have issues, reach out to myself personally, and I'll give my email and all that at the end of the program. So I saw a question pop up about the interest rate on it again. And again, on this EIDL loan, for a nonprofit, it's 2.75% interest rate. For a for-profit, it's a 3.75% interest rate. So literally over 30 years, we're giving the money away essentially to you. You're not going to find a bank out there that's going to do that. I mean, I'm sure there's bankers on the line going, we would loan, but just you think of it as a lifeline from us, and certainly apply for it. So, and I don't know, Elena, how am I on time? You know, I'll go into our traditional products real quick.
You're great. You have like another, 10 minutes.
Okay, all right, good. So I'm leaving enough time to talk about Ohio State football. So on the traditional products for the SBA, we have kind of our bedrock programs, which is the 7A program and the 504. And you guys don't care about numbers, I get it, but just to kind of explain the two paths for you. And if this interests you, work with a lender. You will not be working with us for this loan. You will work with a lender, and there's tons of lenders out there that you can go to, but we basically guarantee those loans. And we guarantee them up to a certain percentage depending on what product you use. So I'll talk about the 504 first. So the 504 program is typically for if you want to buy your building, or you want to buy a building, just not your building, but another building, or you want to locate your business into a commercial space that you want to buy, or if you want to buy new equipment or some major capital type purchase. The 504 program is what I would say perfect for you. Right now, the interest rate is around 2.78%. Good luck finding that anywhere else. We do a very good job on our interest rates. For the 504 program, it's kind of a mixed bag. So you will work with a CDC, Certified Development Company, a lender, and then obviously yourself. So it's typically a 10-40-50 split, where you have to put in 10% of some type of skin, and then the lender does 40%, and then the CDC does 50%. So that's the 504 program. You can also use the 504 program to refinance. So say like you're currently sitting on a loan that isn't so good and you want to roll some debt into it. The 504 program is a great program to look at, to maybe if you want to lower your payment or give yourself some more runway for the, obviously because it's going to take us a couple of years to get out of this. I would definitely look at the 504 program. Right now, the 504 program is at historic levels. The month of September of 2020 was our best month ever in the SBA in the 504 program. So an option for you to look at. The 7A program, so I'm going to hop to our other landmark flagship program, which actually the 7A program, it has a lot higher volume than the 504 program. That can also be used to purchase a building. It can also be used for, really anything, credit lines, whatnot. It's used less to purchase buildings just because of the caps involved. So typically you can only get up to $1 million in the 7A. In the 504, you can get up to $5.5 million. So, I mean, there are some businesses that, they can purchase a building that's not, is under $1 million and including improvements and everything. So the 7A can be used for that. I'm not saying it can't, but the 504 is a little more attractive. You can lock it into that fixed rate, whereas in a 7A, it is variable. It's prime, and it depending on where we're at, typically prime +2, +1, somewhere around there, depending on where we are. But for a 504, it's a fixed rate. You can go to a 20 to a 25 year at it's the 25-year debenture is at a 2.78% interest rate right now. It's like flying off the shelves right now on that program. But on the 7A program, and I'm probably confusing some people out there, so I apologize. On the 7A program, probably the most popular product right now in that program is the Express Loan. And what this is under the CARES Act, which the PPP program was under, they allowed for the Express Loan, which is an SBA product, to go from $350,000 to $1 million. And why is this important to you? The Express Loan, you do this through an SBA lender, they can typically do this loan in 3 days. So if you're like needing that type of money quick, and even if it's under $350,000, but up to $1 million, it's capped at $1 million. The lenders are allowed to lend without even coming to the SBA and saying, hey, does this deal look good? We allow the lender to do their due diligence and lend that money. And most lenders can churn it out in 3 days. So it's a very popular program if you're in need of capital quick. I highly recommend this program. The last thing I'll say about our traditional products is this. Up until September 27th, if you got a traditional SBA product, like a 504, like any 7A loan, you are deferred for up to 6 months, any payments on those products, and we actually made the payment for you at the SBA. So you got that free money the first 6 months. That has ended under the CARES Act as of September 27th, 2020. However, it is in Marco Rubio's bill to bring it back. So it was, and again, I just said we came off historic levels of traditional SBA lending. If it comes back and say like you're in a good spot right now, but churning down the way, maybe in a couple months you're not, or say like, you just want to take advantage of the program, which there's nothing wrong with that. Watch this bill, and if it becomes law and you're looking at the 504 program or the 7A program, literally the first 6 months, you're not going to even need to make a payment, and we're making the payment for you, principal and interest. So it's I hate to say it's free money, because if I ever have kids, my kids will be paying for all this that we're doing right now with debt. But we're here in the now. So if you need to improve your situation as a business, I would definitely look at this program. A lot of folks out there took advantage of it. So that's on the traditional products and kind of what to look for. Additionally, we do other things at the SBA other than just lending and doing disasters. We also do federal procurement. I will mention this very briefly. If you're a business that wants to get in the job or in the business of selling products or services to the federal government, and you are a small business, and again, small business is a very flexible term at the SBA. If you're under 500 employees, typically you can come to us, which would be 99% of the businesses out there. We will assist you in getting yourself certified, whatever you want to do in order to do business with the federal government. We have different programs, the 8A program, many of others that I won't even go into because I could be here for an hour talking about that. But if this interests you, feel free to reach out to me or your chamber, and we will connect you with the folks at the SBA that you need to sit down with to kind of get that going so you can actually do business with the federal government. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, I do stuff with the state. It's a different certification. We do work with the state, but it is totally different. Obviously, you can imagine the federal government, it's a couple more hoops you got to jump through, but we help you jump through those hoops. I will end with this, and then I'm sure there's tons of questions geared around forgiveness. I will end with this. We're free. The SBA, all of us are paid by the taxpayers, and feel free to utilize us. We may not have all the answers, and I do not even pretend I have all the answers. But what I will say about our folks that work at the SBA, those folks in the Michigan district office, they will find you the answers. You guys are fortunate in Michigan. You guys have a small business development center in the Michigan SBDC. That I know I'm very close with the head of the Michigan SBDC. His name's JD Collins. You guys have probably the best SBDC in the country, no joke. And I'm saying this about Michigan. It would definitely be, if not number one, number two or three in the country, and it's definitely number one in my region. So I would definitely reach out to JD and his team. They do excellent work. We refer people over to them all the time, and they have resources as well that they can help you. The SBA helps fund the SBDCs. It's kind of like a joint state federal program where the SBA kicks in money and the states and the universities. So definitely resource. Also SCORE. We have a PTAC center there in Michigan. We have a lot of resources for folks in Michigan that feel free to tap us, and it's free. Well, it's prepaid, you're taxpayers, but it's no extra fees, no nothing. So feel free to reach out to us. So again, all of these programs are available at sba.gov. We got a host of information on our websites, videos, info sheets. And then my email is Robert, like it's normally spelled, ROBERT.Scott, SCOTT, at SBA.gov. Again, Robert.Scott, SCOTT, at SBA.gov. And with that, I will shut up and probably ready for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. That was a great rundown of not only the traditional products that the SBA has available, but the new products, of course, due to the CARES Act and the pandemic. I have a couple of things on the EIDL. Thank you for telling us and hammering that home, that there is still money available and people can still apply before the end of this year. It is critical for so many businesses if they're going to make it through this winter here in Michigan. And I know there are some rumors going around that possibly our state could get shut down again. I'm not sure the validity of everything of those rumors, but there are rumors of that. And there's great concern, of course, for just the businesses you talked about, the hospitality businesses, the restaurants, our entertainment venues, making it through. I had lunch yesterday with Paul Glantz, who is the owner of Imagine Theaters. And he basically put it this way. He said, I'm quickly running out of runway. And when that runway ends, I won't be, our businesses won't be here anymore. So, so that was great advice. Apply for it, take the money. Our chamber did that. We applied for the EIDL. We got the $150,000. We're sitting on it. We don't need it right now, but we're sitting on it. We are concerned about 2021 and what next year is going to look like. So thank you for that advice. The bill introduced by Rubio, I missed, where is that at?
So it's in the Senate. So he's the chair of the Small Business Committee in the Senate. Mm-hmm. And the PPP program started in the Senate. Again, I don't know why they chose the Senate and not starting it in the House, because normally stuff starts in the House. I would imagine the Senate operates a little more, I guess, sanely more than the House. So maybe that's why, but Rubio had introduced a bill. It was supposed to see the light of day. We were preparing for it. And then Justice Ginsburg passed away, and, it's politics.
Elena, I can add a little bit to that if you'd like.
Oh, thank you. This is Robin Daniels with Senator Peters' office.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, as Rob said, it failed to meet what we call cloture. So a vote needs 60 votes, a bill, excuse me, needs 60 votes to make it to the Senate floor, where every senator will vote on it. Senator Peters did vote in favor of Rubio's bill, in favor of the renewed PPP funding, but unfortunately it failed to meet that 60 marker. So it's, as Rob said, currently stalled out. But also, as Rob said, I think at this point, we are hopeful for movement after the election.
Okay. Do you know, Robin, how did Senator Stabenow?
I don't know. I don't want to commit to saying either way. I think she might have voted along party lines. I think she voted against the bill. Okay. I'm just thinking if this is a... Dory's shaking her head. She might know.
Well, and Robin, thank you for coming in. And what I'll say, and this isn't a slight against Democrats or Republicans, it's just our process, and both sides have been overwhelmingly supportive of small business. I mean, the PPP program, it was bipartisan. Everyone wanted to save small businesses. So
absolutely. And
I didn't want
to your point, there were Republicans that voted not to bring it to closure as well. I don't mean to be partisan either.
And I just want people to know so that they know who to contact if this is something that they're interested in seeing moving. So, all right. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Robin, for jumping in on that. I appreciate it. And I do want to recognize, because I'm sorry I missed him in the beginning, Damini with the Pontiac Chamber. Give a wave. Are you on camera? There you are. Thank you. I'm sorry that I missed you, Damini. So we are a pretty tight-knit group, all of our chamber directors in Oakland County, and we work really well together. And so I always want to make sure I'm recognizing all my colleagues who are on the call. So we have questions in the chat box, as you can imagine. So is there anything in the recent bills to address the taxable part of the PPP forgiveness?
So the IRS has issued a notice on whether or not on expenses, on whether a business can, essentially the way the IRS looks at it, if you deduct the expenses from the money that you got from the PPP program, that's double dipping. You're getting credit for something that you used the PPP funds to pay for. They have said you're not allowed to do that. Okay, so that would be double dipping. The one other item that I get questioned all the time on is how do you treat the PPP as, is it taxable income? Like, where is that? The IRS has yet to weigh in on that. Again, they should. I totally believe they should, and they likely will. Obviously, Congress can certainly weigh in. I don't know of a bill that is pending out there that does. I have not been informed of one. That doesn't mean there isn't one that has been introduced or whatnot, but we have said that it needs to be addressed because there's businesses that pay quarterlies. They don't know really exactly what to do. We've had CPAs sitting here going, we have no idea what to do. But all the CPAs are saying that if you have income like the PPP, because essentially money that was dropped on you and then forgiven, hopefully you get it forgiven, which we're working on that. In a traditional sense, you would always treat it as earned income. I think this is an exception, but with the IRS, you kind of have to go with what you're used to. And so we're waiting on them to weigh in on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was knocked off a couple of the questions. As a solopreneur, am I still eligible to apply for the EIDL?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. This one I'm not quite sure I understand. Could Rob please put that Michigan SB in the chat box?
Sure. Small Business Development Center, so SBDC. So Michigan SBDC, and they're typically headquartered in universities in Michigan. I know I can't remember the school, but in Grand Rapids, that's where JD sits, but they're at all your universities throughout Michigan. Great resource. Again, that's Michigan SBDC, and it stands for Small Business Development Centers.
Okay, I'm writing it in the chat box. And he works out of Grand Valley, right?
Yeah, yes, that's a school. Yes.
Yep. Okay, I put it in the chat box for everybody. Under the EIDL program, owners can't pay themselves if they haven't previously taken a salary. Do you see this changing? This doesn't make much sense given all the extra work, and owners can't get fairly compensated given how they structured how they get paid.
And they're saying this under the EIDL program?
Under the EIDL.
I mean, again, if you get a loan amount, so I mean, again, this is just candid advice. If you get the loan amount, I think that what they're referring to is that they cannot put that as a justification to increase their loan amount. So you have to provide some information about your business and lost revenues to the Office of Disaster Assistance in the SBA. One of them is obviously if you haven't been paying yourself, you can't really refer to that. So what I would say is that, you know, obviously you may not get everything you expect from the EIDL program because you can't put in your own salary if you haven't been giving yourself a typical person W-2s themselves, or however you structure your business. But I would still apply for it and get what you can get to pay for some of those expenses, and hopefully give you just something to help you walk down that line. As far as it changing, I highly doubt it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Are there any flyers or charts for these various programs that we can share with our members?
Yes, SBA.gov, there's a ton of like info you can download and one pagers and whatnot.
Okay, all right, I typed that in the chat box. Another question. I am interested in learning if the PPP forgiveness form is applicable to independent contractors.
Yes, if you got the PPP form, or I'm sorry, if you got a PPP as an independent contractor, which you were eligible, we made independent contractors eligible, the form does apply, yes. But again, work with your lender who you got the PPP from. They may have their own process that you need to follow, because we did not tell lending institutions, oh, you have to do it this way. We kind of allowed them flexibility to do their own operations.
Okay. The forgiveness forms are out now. Is it advised to wait before filling them out? I know there were some lenders that were advising people to wait because they saw some possible changes coming. What's any advice now?
So what I would advise is, one, have a conversation with the lender, see what they're doing. I do know there's some big lenders out there, Wells Fargo, Chase, Huntington Bank, that have taken the stance that we are not going to do anything for any loan under 150K until after the election. Again, as the woman from Senator Peters' office said, and as I've said, there is a pending bill, and it is likely it's going to, after the election, when, you know, it's a little more flexible, both sides will likely push it through and hopefully get something done for small business. Again, it's not, small business is not really that big of a political issue, in my opinion. Both sides love small business, and it should happen. And so that's why the lending community is like, hey, we're just going to wait because we're not up on a deadline for it anyway. We're going to start getting the process down. And just so you know, the SBA is taking forgiveness applications from lenders, and we've actually forgiven loans. We're starting to do it, and certainly give that info to the lenders so they can tell their customer base, hey, your loan's been forgiven. So we are in that process, but again, it's on the lenders to see how they're going to go about doing that.
Okay. This question I think might be up to the lender, but will PPP recipients receive a notice that the forgiveness application was received, accepted, granted?
So what we do is we provide that notice to your lender, and your lender should communicate that with you.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Do nonprofits qualify for the 504?
I don't think so, but I don't want to say definitely yes. I don't think they do, but Elena, let me get back with you on that if you know who that member is, and I'll get you that answer.
Okay, sounds good. A question about the easy application. Are you familiar with it?
Oh yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
There's the definitely not easy application. That's 11-page monstrosity. There's the 3-page easy one, and then there's the easy, which is the 1-pager.
Okay, so in qualifying question number 3, does the term hourly wages refer to wage rate rather than total wages paid?
It should be total paid wages, because that's what you're going to do. Then you have the FTE test that you put in there, that kind of goes into you know, the number of workforce folk you brought back during the qualifying period. One thing I would say to your members who are thinking about forgiveness and putting that together, document. So I know I've heard from many folks out there that says, yeah, we tried to bring this employee back, but they just refused to come back. They're making too much money on unemployment. Make sure that you have proof that you made a legitimate job offer back to them, whether it's a letter or an email or whatnot, and make sure you keep that in the file. We have issued an interim final rule that says, hey, if you try to bring back your employees, they didn't want to come back, i.e. the $600 kicker in unemployment or the $300 kicker, whatever, we're not going to hold that against you. So if you're having issues with your FTE count because of that, and this is rampant in the restaurant industry, we have said, listen, we're not going to ping you for that. So just make sure you document.
Okay, thank you. Can you review the requirements to file for PPP forgiveness using the 3508 easy form? Is that too much of a long answer?
Yeah, that's going to take a while. So Elena, how about this? Why don't we do another one of these down the road, and we can do that. I am more than happy to do that. And I literally will go line by line through an application with all of you on this call. And that way we can go over it. Happy to do that. I think time-wise, there's no way. There's no way.
That is a great idea, and thank you so much for that offer. Really appreciate it. We'll take you up on it.
Yeah, we'll get it on the books, guys.
Yeah, good. So stay tuned, everybody. I was denied the EIDL loan due to the fact that I purchased the business on May 18th, 2020.
Okay, have that person email me or email you, Elena, and then I will have a conversation with them. There are, again, we can file for reconsideration and have them relook at it depending on the circumstance.
Okay, great. Thank you. Grateful for the PPP, but when forced closed for 6 months and open at about 30% capacity, hanging by a thread, we appreciate all help that is available. Today I feel more hopeful hearing about the bill from Marco Rubio. Thank you. So.
And again, I don't want to sound like it's just Marco Rubio. It's also his ranking member, Senator Cardin, on there too. So it's a joint. It's bipartisan. Obviously, I'm a partisan appointee, but I will tell you, in this program, it was bipartisan. Yeah. I don't want it to look like it was not.
Right. And speaking of bipartisan, I was remiss in the beginning in recognizing Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin. When I spoke about the half day that we spent together, it was due to your relationship with her and the fact that the two of you have been working together since the beginning of this. Mm-hmm. And that was the reason, I think, one of the big reasons that you came.
Well, I'm kind of scared of her if I don't work with her. She's a former CIA operative that, I'll be like Mission Impossible or something like that. But I saw a question pop up about finding out the statuses of their economic injury disaster loan. 2 ways you can do that. We have a customer service line. It's a 1-800 number, and I apologize. I should know it by heart, but I don't. But there is a 1-800 number line you can call. They can literally on the phone check they'll ask you some obviously qualifying information to make sure you are who you say you are. And then they'll tell you your status over the phone. Additionally, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll have somebody from the Michigan District Office reach out to you and get that status for you.
Okay, great. What about the SBA disaster loan? Is there forgiveness for that loan? I do know.
It is a loan. You got to pay it back. It is a loan. It's not like the PPP program. If what they were asking about is the advance, which that is something that we did, the EIDL advance, which was something in the CARES Act bill that Congress had passed, where you got up to $10,000, and the way the SBA did it is for every one employee, you got $1,000 capped at $10,000. We've already extended that money. It was a total of $20 billion that we pushed out. That is forgiven, but it's not available anymore.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. Assuming the $150K will be forgiven on PPPs, will that $150K be forgiven on PPP loans over the $150 threshold?
No, so I mean, it'll still be forgiven, but you're still going to have to go. So the bill kind of says if you're under 150K, don't submit stuff. You're good. You're over 150K, you're still going to have to, you know, do the forgiveness application to your lender. The lender's going to have to submit it to us. That's kind of where it is. To kind of put in perspective, we have 5.2 million of these. We have 4,000 employees. There's no way we're going to be able to look at all that. So that's kind of where there needs to be some flexibility. And again, we're not here to ding you. Your lender's not here to ding you. We're going to work with you to make sure that these loans are actually forgiven. We just have to do due diligence. We have to make sure that the money went where the money was intended to go under Congress's intent for the program. So again, what I would say is, if you're over 150K, you're likely going to have to go jump through a little bit of hoops to submit for forgiveness.
Okay. And how do we find out status for an EIDL loan?
Yeah, so you can call our 1-800 number, disaster assistance line. And again, I should know it by heart, but I don't. But if you Google us online, it's online, and I'm sure your chamber will be able to push it out. Additionally, you can call or email the Michigan District Office or me at robert.scott@sba.gov, and we will get that status for you.
Awesome. And I have to give a shout out to Kathy Gase, who's in the local SBA office here in our region or in our state, in the Detroit office, right? She works out of, but yeah. She was an absolute lifeline for me, for our chamber, particularly back in April, May, June, when everything was fast and furious and changing by the day. I just can't even tell you, speak highly enough about Kathy, and every time I called her, she picked up the phone and had answers, well, what answers she could for me. So just great job. I think, one more. EIDL advance has to be deducted from PPP forgiveness.
That is correct.
Correct. Okay. All right. I don't think I missed any questions on the call, in the chat box, I should say. I've got a few notes that I'm going to type up, and I will send them out to all of my, all of the other chambers here in Oakland County, so they can push this information out to all of their members. We'll also include the link to this recorded call too. We'll definitely take you up, Rob, on the offer to lead us through filling out the easy form. That would be amazing. And I so appreciate your time here today, Rob.
Not a
I know
problem.
how busy, I can't even imagine how busy you are. I don't want to imagine how busy you are, especially this year or the last 7 or 8 months. And we just really appreciate your time and your expertise. Oh, somebody did put in the chat box the 1-800 number. So take a look at that, you guys. And I think I thanked everyone and recognized everyone, and thank you, everyone, for being with us here today. We hope to bring you more of these. Like I said, we'll definitely take Rob up on the offer to go through the EZ form. And when there's more breaking news, you know, stay tuned to your chamber. I can't even tell you, all my chamber compatriots out there understand we have just been in the trenches the last 7 months, 8 months, trying to keep up with all of the latest information and resources, and trying to just push that out to you, our members and our small businesses, and as quickly as we can. Again, I just want to leave you with, if you have not gotten that EIDL loan, I would just strongly encourage you to apply for that before the end of the year, so that you do have that cushion. I've read a lot of articles that have talked about liquidity, liquidity, liquidity. You do need to make sure you have some liquidity. And if you have, you know, 150K sitting in your account and you need it come January, February, or March, you don't have to scramble around. You've got it. So So with that, we're going to end the program today. Thank you again to my fellow officers in the Oakland Chamber Network. Really appreciate you, and go out and have a great day.
Bye.